Is this thing on? Anyways, I don't have Laurel today to help me. It's going to be an interesting video. It's going to be a short one, but I think it's going to be fun. So we're going to be digging into these later. I don't have time right now. If you're wondering why I have crimson paint on my ear and a few other places, it's from painting some stuff. We've got some cool little devices we'll be showing you before too long, but this video is actually going to be about this down in here. And again, sorry about the video quality. I'm sure it's terrible. So this might not look like much, and this one hasn't been wax dipped like the others, but we have a nice little hive over here. We have one over here at the front. And let me tell you, you can just feel a sigh of relief, not only from me, but also just the bees, that they're able to get out and get some pollen today, a little bit of nectar, and get the queens mated. I have at least 50 queens that should be getting mated this week. And it has just been rain, and whew, hopefully they'll get all of that excitement in the air done before it starts raining again, because it's on its way. Now, I want to show you kind of what's going on inside with this one right here. The reason we're not going to get into this hive is, one, Laurel's not here to hold the camera, and two, the queen cells that we placed in there should have emerged about a day and a half to 2 days ago. And the last thing I want to do is bump a virgin. I say bump, but just get inside the hive and make some racket. The bees sometimes will kill them if you just disturb the colony a little bit. So we're just going to kind of use this one for illustration. Some of you may have watched some of our videos a while back on how these work. Now we just got this little divider board right here. And what's going on in that one, it has a 3, 3, and 3. Of course, they have their different entrances, and it has the, you might be able to see it a little bit, there's the reflectix or double bubble, or if you're in Canada, foamies, underneath that lid, and it goes right across here and ensures that the bees cannot get from one side to the other. And it's really not so concerning about the bees getting from one to the other as much as the queens getting to each other and killing each other, which would be a problem. So this little compartment over here, I really like the 3-frame setup compared to the 2-frame Mating Nuc that seems to be very popular. And I just think 2 frames is too little. There's just not, you know, it's just not a whole lot of space. Yeah, you're not using a whole lot of material, or so it seems, but you know, this up here, you wouldn't be using a lot with the 2-frame, but you've still got so much of an investment into the long pieces on the side, and the lid. It doesn't take much more to give yourself something that's more useful, and that's why I like this setup right here, or a setup that's just a little bit bigger, because we can overwinter this right here. So let's say we take this and we're just going to slide it on down here in the middle. Well, now we can overwinter this no problem here in Tennessee, and you can do it far up north too, as long as you take the necessary precautions. Maybe put a nice thick piece of foam up on top, and especially since you have a colony over here and a colony over here, they're helping insulate one another all winter long. And you can stick at least 4 frames on each side with this system. Now, yes, they will propolize these gaps a little bit as they get stronger, but there are things that you can do to keep those clean. I think it's worth it, especially since, you know, once we wax dip these boxes, they give us quite a long life. So there's a lot of options, Mating Nuc wise and other. You know, there's just a lot of different things you can do with these boxes here. They're also really good for swarm traps. Now, one thing that I have not done to this one yet is drill a couple small holes. Each compartment needs towards the front. So if, you know, like this one right here, it's leaning this way a little bit. So towards the bottom of each compartment, there needs to be a little hole. You can put a screen under it so the bees can't get out there. But if you have a migratory lid like we do, and you have some sideways wind with some rain, sometimes you can get a little bit of water down in the bottom. You want that to be able to drip on out of there. Plus the added ventilation can't hurt as well. But so it's a really simple system. What we did to stock those over there is just take 1 good frame of capped brood. You want old stuff, because you don't want all this small colony having to baby larvae. It takes a lot of work. So give them some capped brood, something that doesn't take anything but some warmth to be able to keep it warm, and then you're good to go. And then I'm going to give them a little bit of a shake of bees. So we want the capped brood, the bee coverage that's on that, and then we're going to give it a shake of bees down in here. And then you don't have to have combs like this. You've got your original capped brood. You can give them a frame that's like partial food if they have enough coverage. Bee coverage is the most important thing in making splits. If you don't give them enough bee coverage, you're going to have small hive beetle problems, or the larvae is going to die because they're not being fed correctly, and then the colony starts going backwards. And when colonies start going backwards, you start having big problems. Colonies need to be going forward. So I would rather give them one frame of comb and too much bee coverage and give them 2 foundations, or give them some drawn dry combs or some partially drawn combs, something that they can build upon once that brood emerges. Once you start getting that capped brood to emerge and come on out and help that queen, they're going to start occupying more space. They're going to have that bee power, and once that queen starts laying, as long as they have the nutrition to do so, they're going to start growing. And that's why I like the 3-frame system. It gives you more time, because they'll swarm out of this in a hurry. They'll swarm out of a 2-frame system really fast. If you got a good queen and she lays that up, and once that brood emerges, it really, a 1 frame, if it's like solid brood, just like both sides just full of capped brood, that's going to occupy a ton of space. It's going to occupy 2.5 to 3 frames if it's fully capped, like top to bottom. That's why we usually don't go for super prime frames like that. But still, you're going to need some room to work, and that's why I kind of like the 3-frame system. Let's say one of these doesn't come back, and likely out of these 3, there's a good chance that one of them won't. Sometimes we'll get 100%, sometimes we might only get 2 to come back or whatever. The cool thing is we can easily pull this divider right here and combine those bees over. Once the queen is laying, let's say the one in the middle doesn't work out, and this one over here is doing really well, and this one on the other side, maybe the queen's looking really good, but they just have a smaller population. So I'm going to probably combine it to this one that's doing really well. The queen's laying good. They've started maybe even capping the brood over here, or they've really committed to raising a lot of brood because she's just laying so much. Just pull the divider and have this one divided off over here, and then you're just going to have 2 compartments, and those bees will merge over and take care of that queen. Bees are very accepting of a laying queen. Again, we're not talking a lot of old forager bees here. Most of these are still going to be very young. Nurse bees are totally different than old forager bees. They'll blend into another colony very well. And when you have a laying queen, every bee loves a good laying queen for the most part. It's when they stop laying and you try to introduce them, you have issues. So, I could talk about this stuff all day. I know I'm probably starting to get boring, but I like the fact that, I've got these exterior handles that are glued, stapled, and screwed on here because I don't like those ever coming loose. Once these are wax dipped, they're very durable and last a long time. A lot of options with this. You can overwinter in these things. You can overwinter 2 in these things. You can use them as mating nukes. There's just so many options with a system like this. It's completely 100% homemade. Not the best looking wood material, but it was a bunch of old scrap that I had laying around. We got all kinds of wood scrap around here, and they were cheap. Just, if you're going to paint them extremely good. Paint every surface that you can. Water is what kills you with this kind of equipment. It just starts swelling the wood. And then once it starts getting a little bit of room to work with, that moisture and fungi and bacteria just start rotting your equipment, especially here in Tennessee. Just so much moisture. But this is a great system, I think. It's not perfect. We'll be exploring several other types of mating nukes over time. So one thing I wanted to share with you guys on maybe, kind of what we're doing. We got 100 of these things. We were using a lot of them earlier in the season for getting our nukes that we were selling off the ground, and it worked very well for us. Right now I'm still deciding whether I'm going to commit to raising a lot of queens or just going back to work, which is definitely the simpler of the 2 options. You can go to work and you get a consistent paycheck. You raise queens and you get this really bad rainy weather. Instead of getting 100 queens out of 150 or whatever the percentages are, you end up with 40 queens out of 150 because there's too much rain. Agriculture is risk, and this year has taught me that quite a bit. So we're just going to have to always plan for the worst of the worst. I thought I was planning for the worst this year, but well below average, and you know, nature was like, you think that's bad? Let me show you this number. So that's just life for you. Wow, this video's gotten long and I apologize so much. Thanks for watching.